Thanks for joining us on TVC News at 10. President Bola Tinubu has commended the armed forces for not carrying out a reprisal attack in Okuama community of Delta State, where 4 officers and 13 soldiers were brutally killed by suspected militants. At the burial ceremony held at the National Military Cemetary in Abuja, President Tinubu also announced scholarships up to the university level for the bereaved families, as well as houses in any part of the country. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports.
A somber moment for the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as he attends the funeral of the Nigerian Army personnel killed in action in Okuama community of Delta State. The grief-stricken family are inconsolable and yet to come to terms with the death of these gallant officers. President Tinubu's presence here means so much to the armed forces. The funeral ceremony was solemn and strictly a military affair. The caskets containing the bodies were brought in for burial. But before the bodies were lowered, President Bola Tinubu expressed the gratitude of the country for the sacrifices of the armed forces. He bestowed posthumous honors on the fallen officers and soldiers and also announced a welfare package for the bereaved families.
It is now our duty to protect the families of our departed heroes. The federal government will provide housing in any part of our country to each of the families of the 4 officers and 13 soldiers that were among them. The federal government has also approved scholarship to all children of the deceased up to university level. Including those who are in the womb.
The brutal killing of 4 officers and 13 soldiers by militants in Okuama community of Delta State portrays the security situation in the country and the efforts by the armed forces to keep the country safe. The army chiefs insist this time around perpetrators of this heinous atrocity must be identified, arrested, and severely punished.
As tasked by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of our Armed Forces, the Nigerian Army, with the assistance of its sister services and other security agencies, is committed to bringing the perpetrators of the Okuama murder to book and recover all service and personal belongings taken from the murdered troops.
We will honor your memory by continuing the fight against those who seek to undermine our peace and security. We will remain steadfast in our resolve to build a nation worthy of your sacrifice. This sacrifice will not go in vain.
In line with the customs of the military, national flags were presented to the next of kin. Also, wreath was laid by President Bola Tinubu, the service chiefs, and other high-ranking government officials in attendance. There was also the gun salute in honor of the Nigerian Army personnel killed in action. The strong message sent out from here today is that the killers of these gallant officers and soldiers will be found and punished. Their death will not be in vain. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Security expert Dixon Osaje joins us on TVC News at 10. Mr. Osaje, it seemed that Mr. President made a point today, being present at the burial ceremony, the announcement on accommodation, scholarship, and timely payment of benefits. How much of a morale booster is this for the Nigerian Army?
Fantastic question. Great initiative by the President. Excellent position. I'm so proud of the President. This is morale boosting, and I tell you, officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces will then understand that truly this administration cares for their well-being and welfare. Because the truth is, when you put your life on the line to die for your to die for your nation in turn have to, take good care of you when you are gone or when you're still alive. So good enough, the president has announced scholarship and houses for the slain officers and men who were killed so cheaply by this unnecessary human being. I tell you, it's a good one for the armed forces. And I also want the president to, look at other parts of the country where our officers are being killed daily because we shouldn't send out this incident because it went global or it went viral. Let's also maintain the momentum and ensure that those who are trained to protect us while we are sleeping must be protected as well. And I think the President Tinubu administration has taken a good stance. Great initiative, and I appreciate him for that.
General Lucky Rabo, retired, has now raised conversations around how to prevent recurrence of this particular incident. He's talking about the need to limit military aid to civil authority. Do you agree that the military shouldn't have been the first respondents, for instance, in the case of community clash?
Thank you very much. Fantastic question. I think General Rabo has made a stand, but for me, I tend to disagree because the military are solely responsible in protecting us from external aggression. And we need to also understand that the Nigerian police are there to protect us from internal aggression, which is solely their duties. And we must allow them to fail and, to learn and fail, because most times we just don't believe in the competence and capability of the Nigerian police force. Let's give them time to try. Let's give them time to engage these people. Because when it comes to crisis management, the military are the last resort, because when you project the military as first resort, that is what we classify as mismanagement of military capability. So for me, the Nigerian government should start looking at, building the capacity and capability of the Nigerian police force and ensure in any given situation, the Nigerian military must and still remain the last resort. They are our last card. They are our last hope of defense. When you throw up your last card in a given game, you are, exposing your capability. So the enemy must not, get rid of your last card while projecting them in the front line. Then secondly, we should be looking at force protection, protecting those that are meant to protect us. That is what I expected General Rabo to talk about, though he has made a fantastic point. But we should be looking at force protection. It's all about protecting officers and men who put their lives on the line to protect us. Getting them drones, getting them surveillance equipment to go into the enemy's den to ascertain the strength, capacity of the enemy, so that they don't fall prey to this criminal element and die cheap. So for me, we should be looking at force protection so that we'll be able to have a national and effective security agent, so that those who are trained hard don't die cheaply. This is Nigeria. We must bring ourselves back to our glorious days and ensure that this country is well respected. Because I can tell you, I was speaking on BBC a few days back, and this same question they asked: why is community or our community people, being hostile to military authority or security agents? Then the community, we need to start looking at our leaders as well. Let them talk to our community leaders and our people. They must know that these officers and men are meant to protect us, and nobody should be hostile against them in any given time.
So we will require a successful investigation to be able to identify, the culprits in this case, whether they are community dwellers, some say they are militants, or we might be looking at a completely different suspect in this regard. How important is a successful investigation to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, when incidents like this happen, you don't just sweep it under the carpet, What you need to do is to carry out an investigation. A follow-up investigation, I believe the Nigerian security agent or the police must have activated, go within that community. And first of all, before I proceed, I would like to appreciate the military for not being hostile or visiting that community with a thunderstorm. That tells you that we are having a, modernized military, because if it was in the early days, I think that community would have been on fire. But I appreciate the military leadership and General Christopher for what they've done so far. But investigation-wise, this culprit must be brought to book, because crime and punishment goes hand in hand. If you want to make sure that crime is well mitigated, punishment must flourish. If punishment don't flourish, crime flourish. So let's start looking at punishment measures within our given society, so that people who are hostile to our security agents are brought to book. So be as a specific and general deterrence to the public that the security agents are not jokers, and they are not people you can go after their lives.
Security expert Dixon Osagie, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 10.
Thank you for having me.